Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content we'll be covering today will be in the sport of football inside the college football world. In today's bonus segment, I'll be sharing my thoughts on the big game that's coming up this Saturday in college football between Georgia and Alabama. So another historic rivalry. Another chapter, I should say, will be written in the historic rivalry between Alabama and Georgia. We'll see the number 2 ranked Georgia Bulldogs go on the road to Alabama to take on the number 4th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide, in which should be a huge classic matchup in an SEC conference game this Saturday in college football. Now, the rivalry, like I just said, continues. These teams have played against each other in national title games, SEC title games. The storied history between Alabama and Georgia is there. And I cannot wait until another chapter is being written. And this time in the storybook rivalry, we will not see Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time, probably the greatest college coach in college sports history. He won't be on the sideline this time. And we won't see the teacher versus student matchup of Nick Saban versus Kirby Smart this time. No, we will see Kalen DeBoer make his debut into this big-time matchup of the rivalry between Alabama and Georgia in this game on Saturday. So this has a lot of animosity. There's going to be a lot of animosity, a lot of anticipation for this big-time game. Now, some interesting stats I will read to you guys before I go into the blueprints of what these teams need to do in order to pick up a win. Georgia is actually 49-2 in their last 51 ball games. Both of those two losses have came to the hands of Alabama. Kirby Smart is actually 1-5 against his old team, his old program, against his old stomping grounds. He's 1-5 against Alabama. Obviously, for you guys that know, Kirby Smart came from how he got to Georgia. He came from Nick Saban's coaching tree. Former defensive coordinator in Alabama, has a bad record against Alabama, bad track record of 1-5. He did beat them in a national championship game a few years ago. But other than that, he's been on the losing end of matchups against Alabama ever since he's gotten to Georgia. But these are my following blueprints for these respective teams to follow if they want to walk out of Alabama with the W. And let's talk realistic, because there's a lot of implications here. A win for both of these teams could be huge, because we know Georgia has that huge tall task at the hand of their schedule for the second half of the college football season. And Alabama's not going to have an easy race to the end. So, realistically, a win here will probably pencil you in to be in the college football playoffs, the new format of the 12-team format this year. But getting back on track, these are the blueprints for these two teams to follow. Starting off with Georgia. I think Georgia's defense has to set the tone early. Now, Georgia's defense, we know Kirby Smart has had some historic defenses with Georgia over the last few years. And this defense, I'm not going to say it's going to be historic, but it's off to a really great start. They have not allowed a touchdown in their first 3 games the entire college football season so far. So that's pretty remarkable. They got a pretty good defense. I think the defense has to set the tone early. The pass rush has to get there to rattle Jalen Milroe in the pocket, make him under duress the entire game. I need to see a lot of man coverage looks from this Georgia secondary, because if you're not playing man-to-man, if you're going to play zone, that could lead to these fast Alabama wide receivers getting a lot of yards after catch, and could get them in trouble in terms of field position, depending on how much yards these Alabama wide receivers can get if they play too much zone coverage during this entire football game. So I would rather see Georgia get beat man-to-man, getting burnt by what you could possibly do best in this game, rather than seeing you get burnt in zone coverage throughout this game. Next, Carson Beck needs to get going early in this game. This could be the X factor of Georgia winning this game. All eyes will be on number 15, Carson Beck, at the quarterback position. Now, to me, this is a prove-it game for Carson Beck, because not only is Carson Beck a part of this Georgia Bulldogs team that's ranked number 2 in the country right now, but Carson Beck is going to be a top 5 prospect heading into the 2025 NFL draft class. And there's going to be a lot of NFL scouts. I believe what I read earlier today, there'll be a total of 16, 17 teams scouting in attendance for this game. This is a prove-it game to me, and the rest of those NFL executives that's going to be out there watching you, because he's going to have to elevate the entire offense if they want to have a chance to win this game. As we know, Georgia, their offense is pretty decent. They got playmakers I should say pass catchers that can make plays, but obviously there's not the playmakers over Brock Bowers at tight end that you formerly had. He went on to be drafted by the Las Vegas Raiders in the first round. No more Ladd McConkey at the wide receiver position. He was a real difference maker, a deep threat at times. Now, a former second round pick with the Los Angeles Chargers. So you don't have these two respective players in your offense anymore. You're going to have to rely on other targets, and it's all going to start with number 15 to elevate this offense. And a huge game on the road in Alabama this weekend. Now, last but not least, I do believe that this Georgia Bulldogs team, I'm talking all three phases of the ball, is going to have to start off fast. Offensively, defensively, and special teams. Everybody's going to have to do their part. All 11 men on the field doing their part, doing their thing, because they're going to have to start off fast in this game. And Georgia has a history this season of starting off slow in ball games. You look at the first game that they had in week 1 against Clemson. They took a long time to get going against Clemson. Obviously, they had the big second half. But in the first half of the game, they only scored a total of 6 points in the first half. Then you look at their last outing. They had a week off. They idled last week. So the week prior to that, they did play Kentucky on the road. And they only scored a total of 3 points in the first half against Kentucky. So you cannot start off slow against this Alabama team that has shown they could put up points on the board quick, fast, in a hurry, no matter what point of the ball game it's in. So Georgia's got to do their part on all three phases of the ball to start off fast, play efficient. All 11 guys on the field got to do their part at all times. And that's the blueprints for Georgia winning this game. Now let's go to the home team, the underdogs in this matchup, Alabama. Jalen Milroe is going to be the X factor in this game against Georgia. And I'm seeing Jalen Milroe, honestly, to me, is growing. He's growing on me because I had a lot of questions his first year starting. I didn't know what to think of him. And he grown on me, and you can see him progress in the second half of the college football season last year. And now he's doing so much better with an offensive-minded head coach in Kalen DeBoer compared to Nick Saban, who's a defensive-minded head coach. But last year, when Jalen Milroe played Georgia in the SEC championship, he kind of put on that cape, that Superman symbol, and all across his chest. He was a big factor in why Alabama did defeat Georgia in that game last year. Last year, in the SEC championship game, he had 192 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, had a total of 29 rushing yards. Kalen DeBoer is going to have to be very creative with Jalen Milroe, as we've seen him do all college football season long. He's going to have to get him going in the RPO game. Jalen Milroe is going to have to be making plays in the pocket with his arm, and he's going to have to be making plays with his legs. And we've seen Kalen DeBoer could get him going. He's got at least two passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns in his first 3 games this college football season. So I do believe Jalen Milroe is going to be the X factor for this game. Now, next, Alabama's going to have to play great defensively. Just like Georgia, Alabama's got a pretty good defense. They haven't given up. Georgia hasn't given up a touchdown yet. The same can't be said for Alabama. However, Alabama has only given up a total of 26 points in their first 3 games this college football season. So we're going to see a clash of the Titans between these two respective defenses this Saturday. I want to see how Alabama's going to play. I want to see how Georgia's going to play. But I do believe that Alabama's going to have to play good defensively. My eyes are going on Alabama's secondary. Their secondary doesn't have the signature DBs that came from Alabama in the past, like Marlon Humphrey and several others. But this secondary has freshmen on it and a lot of transfers. They're going to be new to a matchup of this SEC magnitude between Alabama and Georgia. So I think this secondary could get rattled at times, but I want to see if they can overcome adversity and help Alabama win this ball game. Their defense has to have a really good game this weekend. Now, with that being said, that is my blueprints for Alabama. And man, this took me a lot of time and a lot of thought to think about this. I'm going to go with Alabama to win this game. I'm going with the underdogs here to pull up the upset. This is a 50-50 game. This is probably one of the biggest games of the year. And the winner of this is going to have a guaranteed college football playoff spot waiting for them. But I think Alabama's going to win this game because I lean more towards I think this is going to be more of a defensive game. Alabama's only allowing 26 points so far this season, and Georgia hasn't allowed a touchdown yet this college football season. So it's the clash of the Titans. We're going to see which defense can help out their respective programs, possibly win the game on the defensive side of the ball. I lean towards Alabama more due to Georgia's slow starts in ball games. Like I just touched up on their slow start week 1 against Clemson, only scoring 6 points in the first half. A week or so ago when they played Kentucky on the road, they only scored 3 points in the first half. You cannot afford to start off slow against this Alabama offense that could put up points anytime, any place, at any time of the ball game, no matter what the quarter is, no matter what the situation is. And if the game comes down to the final possessions, I trust Jalen Milroe, quarterback for Alabama, more than I trust Carson Beck, the quarterback for Georgia. I just believe that Jalen Milroe is going to be the X factor in this game. I think Kalen DeBoer is going to get him going in the RPO game, make plays with his legs, make plays with his arm. Again, he has already had at least 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns in his first 3 games in this college football season. So it's going to be a tight competitive game, but if it comes down to it and the final possessions of it, give me Alabama to win this game. And a very close game, a big statement game. But, that's got me fired up. I can't wait for this game on Saturday. Big time game in college football. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.